There is something happening in you right now that your mind does not have words for yet. You can feel it. A kind of stillness underneath the noise. A pulling. Like something is about to shift that has not shifted in a very long time. Stay with that feeling, because this is not a coincidence. And this is not just another video. 3 words. That is all this is. 3 words spoken at the edge of sleep that begin to dismantle something that has lived inside you, quietly, invisibly, for most of your life. Not a chant, not an affirmation, not something you have tried before and quietly abandoned. Something older than that. Something the nervous system already knows how to receive. Tonight, everything changes. Not tomorrow. Not after you feel ready. Tonight. Within 24 hours, the first signs of a new direction begin to appear, by divine law, not by coincidence. Stay right here with me. We are only at the beginning. How many mornings have you opened your eyes and made a silent promise to yourself that today would be different, that this week would be the one where something finally moved? A call you were waiting for, an amount that appeared in your account, a shift in a relationship that had been sitting in the same cold position for months, maybe years. How many times have you held that hope, gently, like something fragile, and then watched it quietly dissolve by midday? That feeling, that specific, exhausting feeling of being the one who tries, who believes, who does the inner work, and still ends up at the end of another month wondering why the outer world does not seem to be listening. That is the feeling I want to speak to tonight. Not from a stage, not from a place of having always had the answers, from a place of having been exactly where you are, of having sat in that same silence, wondering the same thing. You are not broken. Let me say that clearly before we go any further. You are not cursed. You are not forgotten. You are not someone who believes wrong, or prays wrong, or wants too much. Those are lies the stuck mind tells to explain something it does not yet understand. The real reason you have been in the same place, the real, precise, neuroscientific and spiritual reason, is one thing you were never taught, one piece. And once you understand it, everything you have done up until now will begin to make sense in a new way. There is a name for the pattern that has been keeping you here. I call it silent waiting. It is what happens to people who have all the faith in the world on the inside, but have never been shown how to activate what is already theirs. They watch, they hope, they do the internal work, but they wait silently for the world to notice. They are doing everything right except one thing. And tonight, that one thing changes. If you have ever felt like life had a list of people it was going to get to, and your name kept getting moved further down, leave one word in the comments right now that matches where you are. Just one word. It tells me you are still here. It tells me something in you has not given up. Now. The 3 words. I am already. That is it. I am already. Not I will be. Not I am becoming. I am already. And those 3 words, spoken in a specific way at a specific time, trigger something in the brain that years of positive thinking rarely touches. Here is why. Florence Scovel Shinn wrote this more than 100 years ago. She said, "The invisible forces are ever ready to serve the one who speaks with authority. Not with hope, not with effort, with authority." The brain, specifically the reticular activating system, the small cluster of neurons that acts as the gatekeeper between your unconscious and your conscious reality, responds not to what you desire. It responds to what you have already claimed as present truth. When you say, "I will be wealthy," the brain files that under future. Future means not yet. Not yet means no signal sent. But when you say, "I am already living in the overflow of everything I need," the brain searches for evidence of that being true, right now, and it begins to find it. This is not wishful thinking. This is how the mechanism works. Neville Goddard wrote, "Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not visualize it. Feel it, from inside the assumption that it is already done." Joseph Murphy described the same truth in different language when he wrote that the treasure house of infinity responds to the mental acceptance of the good you desire. Mental acceptance, not mental reaching, acceptance. Tonight, you are not reaching. You are accepting. I want to tell you about a woman named Miriam. She lived in a small flat in Bristol, England. She was 61 years old. She had worked her whole life, raised 2 children mostly alone, and had arrived at what should have been her quieter years, carrying a debt she had accumulated across 12 years, a debt that had grown into something that felt permanent, a weight she had learned to carry the way you learn to carry chronic pain, not because it stops hurting, but because you forget what it felt like without it. Miriam found this practice not in a spiritual book and not in a YouTube video. She found it through a friend who had been through something similar and who told her simply, every night before you sleep, say the 3 words, mean them, let them land somewhere real inside you. Do not perform them. Do not say them from a place of desperation. Say them from a place of quiet certainty, as if you are stating something that is already happening at a level you cannot yet see. Miriam was skeptical. She had tried things before. She was the kind of woman who believed deeply but had also been quietly disappointed many times. She tried it anyway, not because she was sure it would work, because she was tired of not trying. The first night, she said the words and felt nothing. The second night, something small shifted. Not outside, inside. A kind of settling, like a part of her that had been bracing, finally exhaled. On the 4th morning, she received a letter from a debt management service she had enrolled in 3 years ago and then forgotten about entirely. Inside was a notification that one of her accounts, through a government hardship program that had passed 2 years earlier that she had never heard of, had been written off, forgiven, gone, not the full amount, but enough that the weight she carried suddenly felt different, lighter, like the first domino had moved. 2 weeks later, her daughter called with news about a family property decision that released a small inheritance Miriam had assumed was inaccessible for years. The week after that, an old employer contacted her about a pension contribution discrepancy in her favor. None of these things happened because of magic. They happened because Miriam's inner state changed. The way she carried herself changed. The conversations she initiated changed. The letters she finally opened instead of avoiding changed. Her nervous system had shifted from survival to signal, and reality responded. This is the first law, the law of inner authority. Nothing in the outer world can exceed the permission level of your inner world. When Miriam said, I am already held, I am already provided for, I am already living in the evidence of a generous universe, she was not lying to herself. She was instructing herself. She was sending a new signal. And the universe, which responds to signal, not to sorrow, began to reorganize around that instruction. The second law is the law of the sacred window. There is a specific window of time each night when the subconscious mind becomes permeable. The neuroscientists call it the hypnagogic state. The mystics have always known it as the threshold between waking and sleep. In this window, usually between 10 and 30 minutes after you close your eyes, the critical faculty of the conscious mind, the part that argues and doubts and says, but what about the bills, relaxes. And whatever you are holding in consciousness at that moment goes directly into the subconscious without resistance. This is why bedtime thoughts matter so much more than morning affirmations. The morning mind is defended. The mind at the edge of sleep is open, wide open. And if, for most of your life, the thoughts you carried into that window were thoughts of what was missing, what was broken, what you feared would still be true tomorrow, then you have been sending one consistent instruction into the deepest part of your mind every single night. Not out of weakness, out of not knowing. Tonight, the instruction changes. Isaiah 65:24 says, "Before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I will hear." This is not poetry. This is a description of how the divine operates. The answer is already assembled. The provision is already prepared. The shift is already completed at a level you cannot yet see. Your words, specifically your spoken words at the right moment, are not creating something new. They are calling forward what is already done. The third law is the law of accelerated demonstration. When the inner world and the outer instruction align, when what you feel on the inside matches what you speak at the edge of sleep, the gap between spiritual reality and physical manifestation compresses. Things that would have taken years begin to appear within 24 hours. Doors that seemed permanently closed develop cracks. A conversation happens that was not planned. A memory surfaces of someone you had forgotten to call. A document appears. A number changes, not through coincidence, through alignment. If something in the last few minutes just settled in you, like a quiet recognition rather than a new idea, tap like. It tells me you are still open to this frequency. Now I want to walk you through how to do this tonight. Not as a set of instructions, as an experience you will already know from the inside. You close your eyes, the room is quiet, the day has released its grip. You are lying still and you let the body exhale everything it was holding. You do not rush this. You let the silence become familiar. And then, slowly from somewhere underneath the mind's usual conversation, you let 3 words rise. I am already. You do not force what comes after. You let the sentence complete itself. I am already provided for. I am already held. I am already living inside the shift I have been waiting for. Whatever form of the words feels true, let that be the one. Say it quietly. Let it move through your body the way warm water moves, not a performance, a claim, a gentle, certain spoken claim. Say it slowly. Say it as if you are reading it from a document that was signed before you were born. As if this is not a new idea but an old truth you are simply remembering. Say it out loud now if you are in a place where you can. I am already. Let the words land. Let them settle somewhere below the chest. And then let yourself drift. Let sleep receive what you have just spoken. Because what happens next is not in your hands. The subconscious takes it, works with it, carries it into the hours of deep rest where reprogramming happens not through force, but through surrender. And in the morning, do not check for evidence frantically. Instead, notice. Notice what rises first. Notice who contacts you. Notice what thought arrives before the defended morning mind has fully assembled. Because in that first soft window of waking, the subconscious is still near the surface, and it will show you something, a nudge, a name, a feeling of quiet readiness that was not there yesterday. Within 24 hours, the first movement appears, by divine law, not by coincidence. Now, a sacred challenge, not a suggestion, an invitation into a specific contract. For the next 7 nights, speak the 3 words 4 times each day. Once when you first open your eyes, before the phone, before the morning noise. Once at midday, in a moment of quiet, even 30 seconds in a bathroom, a parked car, a brief pause between one task and the next. Once before sunset, as the day begins to release, and once at the very edge of sleep, when the body is still and the mind is soft, and the threshold between this world and the next is thin. 7 nights, 4 times each day. That is 28 spoken moments of inner authority. 28 times you send a new instruction to the part of you that has been receiving the same old signal for far too long. This is not a lot to ask. This is everything. Isaiah 30:21 says, "This is the way, walk in it." Not search for it, not earn it, walk in it. Because the way is already there, the path is already laid, the provision is already assembled at a level just beyond what the ordinary eye can see. You have not been failing. You have been preparing. Every disappointment that did not destroy you made you more capable of receiving what is now on its way. Every morning you chose to get up and try again was your nervous system learning to hold something larger. Every prayer that felt unanswered was not ignored. It was being held in trust until the version of you that could receive it fully was ready to walk into the room. That version is you tonight. Tonight the signal changes. Tonight the instruction is different. Tonight the words you carry into sleep are not words of lack. not words of worry, not the quiet replay of everything that has not yet worked. They are words of already, of completion, of a truth that exists at a frequency just above where you have been living, and you are stepping into it now. Say the 3 words with me one final time. I am already. Say it again. I am already. Now say it from the center of your chest, not your throat. I am already. Joseph Murphy wrote, "The law of your mind is the law of belief, not the law of effort, the law of belief. And belief, real belief, is not performed. It is not forced. It is felt quietly in the body, in the stillness just before sleep, in the simple declaration of something already accomplished at a level the eyes cannot yet see. Tonight you step into the life that has already been prepared for you. It appears within 24 hours by divine law. It is done, not someday, not when the circumstances cooperate, not when you have earned it or proved it or tried hard enough. Now, in this room, in this quiet, in this moment that is already and has always been yours. If this felt like it was written for you, because in a deeper way it was, welcome home to Healing Love Space.